this thing working? You guys hear me?
Yeah. Yep.
Awesome. So basically what we're going to talk about is the field methods and weather analysis and forecasting course, or as we like to call it, the storm chase. So let's get started. I am Carson Meredith. I am a senior in the meteorology program at Western, and I am also the lead forecaster for White Squirrel Weather. And Bailey, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Bailey Stevens. I'm a senior at WKU, and I'm a secretary for the NWA AMS chapter. And I'm also a general forecaster for the White Squirrel Weather. And
both of us went on the storm chase trip back in May of this year, and hopefully we get to go again. Fingers crossed. We'll see. So basically what our role is in White Squirrel Weather is we have, like Dr. Durkee said, we have a set of general forecasters, which I think we have 6-ish now, something like that. And then we have a lead forecaster, which is myself. And basically what happens is the general forecasters send me their thoughts on what may happen or for a given event, or if we have a severe weather event coming in, we can share their thoughts on how that's going to play out, or if we have an event coming up on campus, they'll give us a forecast for that event. And what happens is they send those forecasts to me, and then based on their forecast and based on what I think, we come up with one consensus forecast for the university. And then I work with Dr. Durkee, and we kind of share our thoughts, and then we kind of tweak it, I guess. And then we push out a final forecast to university officials for decision support services or planning or what have you, depending on what the situation is. So that is what we do with White Squirrel Weather. But now we're going to shift to talking about the storm chase. So back in the old days, I guess I'm really not qualified to say that because I'm 22, but anyway. Back in the old days, it used to be you had a big TV that you just, whenever you could, you just park on the road, pull the TV out, check your local station that you're nearby, and see what they're showing on radar, and that's all the radar we had. And there used to be some random guy that would just, you can call him up and say, hey, tell me what's going on here. So that's what storm chasing used to be like. Now it's obviously quite a bit different. So with our storm chase, excuse me, it's officially a 4-week course, 6 credit hours, so it does count for credit. We are on the road for 2 weeks, and the Monday after the end of the spring semester, we're on the road. So we don't, our summer break, I guess, gets pushed back a couple weeks, but that's okay, because we'd much rather be storm chasing. The last 2 weeks of the course are just kind of wrapping up everything, which is gathering all the photos we've had, all the videos we took. We're all required to do service analysis maps every morning for our forecast discussions. And we gather all that data up, and then we send that to Dr. Durkee, and that is technically our graded component for the storm chase. There's 8 students. There's our 2018 group minus one of us. The one is Thomas Evil. He is actually from Germantown, Maryland, believe it or not, although I think he's moved to Wichita since then. And he found out about our program, or our storm chase. I'm not sure exactly how, but anyway, he came with us the last couple of years. We met him in Hays, Kansas on our first day, and then he'd go with us. This picture was with just the 7 Western students who went last year, right at the very end of our very long journey. And I know you can't hardly tell, there's Dr. Durkee right there. And let's see, there's me, there's Evan Hatter who's in the back, Bailey's hiding back there, and the 3 students in there, let's see, we have Isaac Smith right here, Greg Gospel, and Kate French. They all graduated back in May. Greg is now at the University of North Carolina, Charlotte, pursuing his master's. Isaac Smith is now a meteorologist intern at the Phoenix office, and Kate French now works for Warren County Emergency Management. So, a little bio on that. And there's Gerardo Diaz. He is one of our graduate students at Western as well. There's our professors. This is a really old photo. We tried to find a new one, but that is Dr. Durkee, and that is Dr. Grady Dixon. He is the interim dean of the Department of Geography at Fort Hays State University in Hays, Kansas. And basically what happens the first day, we just go from Bowling Green to Hays, Kansas, and we meet up with him that night. Next morning, we're on the road chasing. So, and our whole lives for 2 weeks are in that 15-passenger van. We're in there all the time, literally, except to sleep, honestly. And because of that, because there's 10 of us total, 8 students plus 2 professors, we're really tight on space. So for 2 weeks, we have to pack, or we can only pack just one backpack, or one tote bag or something like that. So that's a little tricky, but it's worth it. There's a lot of great bonding time. So. The hotel, let's see, I'll go back. Let's see that. So obviously we're on the road all the time. And because of that, depending on what the weather situation is, we're going to be in different parts of the country. And we have a bunch of maps later, you'll see why or how we just zigzag across the country. So we were on the road 13 nights this past May. Every single night we were in a different city. So you just never know where you're going to be at the end of the night. This on the right was supposed to play. It's just a couple, Isaac and Greg just being goofy after we got in the hotel for the night. And basically, when we get to the hotel, we're done chasing, we've already eaten dinner, that's our time to just let loose, I guess. Just let our energy out and just have fun. And because of that, we don't get much sleep. We go to bed at maybe, 1 o'clock. Gotta wake up at 6 because we've got a forecast discussion at 7 or whatever. And this is what happens that morning. When we're not chasing, let's just say the van is our bed, I guess. So, yeah. Food. We have to be cheap, and a lot of times we have to be quick, but we also want to be healthy. So that is why Subway is our most popular food place on the entire trip. Although this past year we didn't go with Subway very often because we weren't in hurry up chase mode. I don't know. I think we went to Subway 3 or 4 times. So, but nonetheless, we have to keep in mind where we're trying to go. Let's say we're in the Panhandle of Texas and our target is Southeast Colorado. Well, that's a decent drive, so you don't want to just lollygag around and sit at a sit-down restaurant for over an hour. You want to get quick food and just get on the road again. So, and when we do have time, we go to a bunch of random local places that have really good food. The Big Texan in Alvarado, Texas. Has anybody ever been there? Anybody? There you go. The best food you could possibly imagine. If you want it, I think you can eat a 72-ounce steak with a bunch of other meal items in 1 hour and you get some kind of reward.
Free meal.
Yeah, there you go. The Third Lucky's Pub in Spearfish, South Dakota. What was that taco place called again? I can't remember. But that is in a food truck in New Mexico. Really good if you're get there someday. This is from the pizza place in Lusk, Wyoming. Highly, highly, highly recommend if you're ever in Wyoming. Just saying. And then the Cozy Inn hamburger restaurant in Salina, Kansas. So a lot of great local food places, food options. Now, when we talk about the gear, so like Dr. Durkee said, all we have is internet. Dr. Durkee always drives. Dr. Dixon, it's so weird calling him that. I usually call him Grady. Dr. Dixon, he has the computer, he has the internet access, he has all the chat, the weather service chats, what have you. He's analyzing while Dr. Durkee's driving, and he's basically telling Dr. Durkee where to go. And that's Dr. Dixon with the anemometer right there. And right there on the right, that's all we got, the students. We got radar scope. Hopefully, unless you're like me and you have Sprint, you have terrible cell phone service. So yeah, that's all we have while Dr. Durkee and Dr. Dixon do all the analysis and driving up front. These are what one of our forecast discussions look like. So every morning around 8, 9 o'clock, depends on what's going on. We all meet up, whether it be in our hotel room or maybe the breakfast lobby downstairs, or in this case, a coffee shop. And we just diagnose the forecast. Each student rotates when they go, and they do a full forecast discussion, technical and everything. And the ultimate goal is to pick a specific target where you think the best storm chasing will be on that day. You can't say, oh, I think eastern Colorado will be good. You have to say, Lyman, Colorado, Lamar, Colorado, something like that. And then as the day goes on, if we need to adjust, we will. I remember one day we said, the Panhandle of Nebraska, I can't remember the city, that's why it was general right there. And we get to the Panhandle of Nebraska and we look, and there's a bunch of stuff firing off in northeast of Denver. So we did a 180 and went back to Colorado. So it just kind of depends on the situation. It's very much a nowcasting event, pretty much every day on Storm Chase. And then we drive a lot. While we're driving a lot, we're not chasing, we sleep a lot, like I talked about earlier. The first map on the left is from the very first Storm Chase back in 2010. Their most successful storm chase as far as the number of tornadoes they saw goes was 17. This past year we only saw 1, which was... Yeah, yeah, 2 at the same time, yeah. There's the 2011 map also. There is what I've been told is one of the best tornadoes the WKU storm chase has ever seen. Campo, Colorado, back in 2010. That is a really nice tornado. I had to throw this in here, Brittany. I'm sorry. Brittany Whitehead, she works at the Weather Service office in Nashville. She went on the first storm chase. I know Evan Webb, he works at the Louisville office. He also went, as did Landon Hampton as well. There's the 2012 map on the left, 2013 right there. And this is one from Bennington, Kansas in May of 2013. And you get the idea. I mean, we drive constantly. You can be in Texas one night, and the next night you'd be way up in Wyoming. You never know on the storm chase. And the map on the right is all the states we've been to on the storm chase over the 9 years that we've had it. I don't think we had any new states this time around. So this is from Canadian Texas in 2015. Just awesome stuff right there. And I'm going to turn it over to Bailey now. She's going to talk about the last couple of years of storm chase as well as our storm chase experience back in May.
So then this is now in the 2016 storm chase. In the 2017, we ranged anywhere from 6,000 miles and get as high as 8,000 miles as well. This is the Dodge City tornado in 2016, well-known tornado, as you can tell. Then in the Mosby, Montana, you can see the amazing storm structure that you can only see in the plains. So it's really great to get out there and get to experience that when it's wide open. You can see it all at once, basically. And that's the same storm, different angles. You can see the aquamarine color at the top. It's my favorite color. And then Goodland, Kansas in 2017. I remember talking to students who previously went before me on this trip, and how they talked about it just inspired me to go the next year. Then this is 2018, our storm trip. We started at Bowling Green, of course, and toward the beginning of the trip, we made it down to New Mexico. And then mid-trip, we made it as far north as the Black Hills in South Dakota. So we covered a lot of land, saw a lot of really beautiful land, really, yeah. So this is Syracuse, Kansas. This is one of our best events of the trip. There is a time lapse at the bottom left. It was recorded by one of our students, and we were nationally recognized through it, through Weather Nation. That was from the beginning of our chase that day. We saw it develop and start to take structure as we were stopped in that trail, dirt path inside. What was really funny, I remember Dr. Dixon and I were standing underneath those power lines. You can kind of see them. Every time lightning struck off in the distance, you hear a buzz up top of me. Oh. But then we started chasing it. We came out from underneath the shelf pad, as you can see in the top right picture. One of the best shelf pads I've ever really seen. We would stay out ahead of it, and as it got closer, we'd take another mile out and wait for it to come back to us all over again. So as we watched that, we eventually packed up and headed back into Syracuse, Kansas. And as we were stopped, one of our students noticed on the right side 2 lane spouts. He was like, "What is that?" And Dr. Durkee pulled the van on over, and we watched those 2 lane spouts. There's one there, but there were 2 in the beginning, and one disappeared. But experiences of that trip for sure. I've experienced a lot of low-level rotation. Yeah, almost indescribable. Another great event from this storm chase was the Black Hills in South Dakota. I remember when we headed up there, we had just had our eye on a storm and took a turn up into the mountains and kind of kept our eye on it and noticed that there was a big hail core in it. You can kind of see, as we pulled over, we watched it kind of swell up like a funnel. It didn't really get too developed, but that's probably the best it got. But it's still really cool to see a funnel up in the 6,000 plus feet. Just watch it go. And then this is the hail that came from that same storm. So as we headed back down the hill, those hills, we experienced all this hail. It kind of looked like snow to me at first. I've never seen so much hail in my life. But what was really cool was the fog that came from it melting and giving all that low moisture.
Technical difficulties.
Another big event was North Platte, Nebraska. This was toward the end of our trip, and it was something really different in structure than we had seen. It's kind of just rotating in the same place for a while, and I'll never forget the hail shaft that was on the side of the storm. But, this is another time lapse. Time lapses are the best when you're recording storms, but yeah, this was another really big event, and then this goes into it as well. Just shows that weird storm structure that we just watched for what seemed like, I mean, it went fast, but it was a lot of just observing and everything, and all the students would just, I don't know, we experienced a lot from that storm.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of excitement came with it. This is great. That's in that same storm in Nebraska. Another thing I'd like to point out is that, as you all know, this tornado season was pretty quiet compared to the previous years. So we made the best of it for sure. Even in a quiet season, I learned a lot from forecasting, structure, all those kinds of things. So these are the previous tornadoes that were the pictures that were taken from previous storm chases, all forecasted by students, chased by students, and of course guided by Dr. Durkee and Dr. Dixon. So that just shows, you know, how successful students have come from this class. So like it was mentioned earlier, this class is nationally awarded. As you can see, there's multiple awards there. The most recent one in 2014 for being, it's a Life in the Field award. So, I mean, it's known for being very creative, for getting the students out there, and it's different from the others because it's student guided. And from that, I learned a lot. I know a lot of us learned from that as well. So, these are the different things we offer as a program. Of course, the first one being Storm Chase. Second one, we offer an annual weather camp for students, high school and below.
12 to 17 year old, I think. Yeah. 12
to 17 every summer for those kids around the nation, really. We've gotten kids from all over.
And Puerto Rico, too.
In Puerto Rico, yeah. We also offer those laboratories that were talked about earlier, and White Squirrel, of course. And with that, any questions at all?
Yeah.
So, when you've been chasing the tornadoes, like, have you ever seen any tornadoes, like, go through towns?
We have not. We try to find tornadoes that are in wide open fields or wide open areas away from cities or towns for a couple reasons. One, if you're in a city or town there's a tornado coming through, traffic could be disastrous. And for liability purposes, we don't want to mess with that. So that's one thing, and honestly, quite honestly, that's the biggest factor. Another thing too, I know this isn't about tornadoes, but when we talk about hail, at those pictures that we had of the hail in the Black Hills, that was after the hail core had moved through. again, for liability reasons, we don't want to be near a storm that is producing large hail. For liability reasons, and the fact that we're going to have to pay a big fee, I guess, once we return that van back to Enterprise. And we don't want the university on our tails when we get back for causing all that damage. So typically, when it comes to big cities or towns or anything like that, we try to stay away from them as much as we possibly can when there are tornadoes on the ground. That's why a lot of times actually we're on really rural roads where the only people around are literally storm chasers, as well as dirt roads. So, yeah. Any other questions? All right. Thank you all.